Welcome to Despicable Maine Deep Dive. Today on the show, get Jeff Toothaker for a public defender and you are convicted.
Wow, okay. That's quite the tagline. Sets a certain tone, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and we're going to dig into why people might be saying that. We're looking at the really tragic 2007 DUI accident involving Jill Ihle, which resulted in the death of Arthur Smith Jr.
And the allegations that followed a potential cover-up.
Exactly. We've got news articles, from the Ellsworth American, the Mango Daily News. We also have this pretty raw audio recording, a phone call with Arthur Smith Sr., the victim's father.
That sounds intense. And what else?
Online legal reviews, lots of them, specifically about Jeff Toothaker, the attorney we mentioned. Oh, and Arthur Smith Jr.'s obituary, or rather the fact that it seems to have been, well, scrubbed.
Scrubbed, like removed from the newspaper's website.
Seems that way. So our mission today really is to piece together these details, the accident, Toothaker's alleged role, and these wider claims about how justice works or maybe doesn't work in Hancock County.
Right, because looking at the sources, it feels less like one isolated incident and more like dots connecting, suggesting a pattern maybe.
Let's start at the beginning then. April 28th, 2007, Route 3 in Trenton, Maine.
Okay.
Arthur Smith Jr., he was only 26, from Steuben. He was struck by a Dodge Caravan.
Driven by Jill Ihle, 31, from Ellsworth.
Correct. And the initial police line, what they first suggested.
Bad weather, wasn't it? Rain and fog, the usual sort of default explanation sometimes.
Yeah, kind of neat and tidy. But later tests showed Jill Ihle had alcohol in her system.
Ah, okay. So not just the weather. But wasn't there a delay with that test?
There was a significant one, apparently, 2, maybe 3 hours after the accident.
Which is, well, it's not ideal, is it? Alcohol levels drop over time. A delay like that, it raises questions. Big ones.
And then the Mango Daily News article, just a couple of days later, it adds more, let's say, confusion.
How so?
It claimed Smith Jr. was walking the travel lane, something his father, Mr. Smith Sr., strongly disputed later on that phone call we have.
Okay, so conflicting accounts right away. What else?
The article also mentioned an unidentified passenger in Ihle's van, and it seemed, I don't know, cagey about speed or alcohol, even though they must have had those blood results back by then or soon after.
So they're highlighting the victim being in the road, mentioning an unknown passenger, but downplaying the driver's potential impairment.
Feels that way, doesn't it? Like maybe building a specific narrative from the get-go.
It certainly makes you wonder about the initial focus. Why emphasize where Smith Jr. was if the driver had alcohol in her system? It seems skewed.
Which leads us straight into these cover-up allegations. That delayed blood test is point 1.
Point 2 being the lack of immediate charges against Jill Ihle.
Exactly. A fatal accident, alcohol involved, and nothing right away. It feels off.
Very off. And then the newspaper thing, the Ellsworth American.
Yeah, this is maybe the strangest part. Articles about the accident, and even unbelievably, Arthur Smith Jr.'s obituary, they allegedly just disappeared from the paper's website later on.
Wait, the obituary, that's chilling. That's not just burying a news story. That's like trying to erase a person.
It feels that way. Mr. Smith Sr., in that phone call, you can just hear his disbelief and anger about that specifically. It fuels his whole cover-up claim.
I can imagine. And what else did he say in that call? It sounds like a key piece of evidence here.
Oh, it really is. He talks about being told Jill Ihle was taken home from a bar called the Bear right before the accident happened.
Okay.
He hammers on that delay in the blood test again. He talks about the initial reports blaming his son, Arthur Jr., for being in the road.
Which he disputes.
Strongly. He even mentions apparently a school bus driver passed the spot earlier and didn't see his son in the road.
So a direct contradiction to the narrative being pushed.
Right. And you just feel his frustration,
Yeah.
trying to get answers and hitting what felt like a wall. He even said someone at the courthouse told him and his wife they'd have to stand at the bottom of this and work our way to the top to find out what was really going on.
Wow. That implies a system that's, well, not exactly open and transparent, doesn't it? Like you're fighting the system itself.
And who's right in the middle of this system, according to many of these allegations? Attorney Jeff Toothaker.
Okay, let's connect the dots. How does he fit in?
Well, for starters, Jill Ihle, the driver, she was his paralegal.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty direct connection. Conflict of interest. Anyone.
You'd think, wouldn't you? It's like, I don't know, the defendant's lawyer also being the judge's golf buddy. Maybe technically allowed, but it doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good at all. And the allegations go further, right? about his connections.
Yeah, talk of him being part of this good old boys club with District Attorney Carletta Bassano and Sheriff William Clark.
Right, the DA who decided not to prosecute Jill Ihle.
The very same. Bassano said the case did not survive, despite, alcohol being present in Ihle's system and someone being dead.
Did not survive. Such a passive, strange way to put it. What does that even mean in this context?
Good question. And get this. Jill Ihle's first court appearance wasn't until 4 years after the accident.
4 years.
Yep. Not exactly swift justice. More like justice taking a very long nap, hoping everyone forgets.
It certainly suggests a lack of urgency, to put it mildly. Maybe even a deliberate foot-dragging.
And that brings us to Jeff Toothaker's online reviews. Because remember that tagline, get Jeff Toothaker, and you are convicted. These reviews, they shed some light on why someone might say that.
Okay, let's hear them. What are people saying?
Well, one guy, Michael Bine, he doesn't hold back. Literally says, lock him up, lock him up. Claims he got hit with multiple charges even when he wasn't there. Says he was pressured into pleading guilty.
That sounds, well, terrifying, frankly. Like, the system is working against you, not for you.
Another one, Howard Leaport, just said Toothaker ghosted him after the first meeting. Never heard back.
Okay, so communication issues, too. Anything else stand out?
Oh, yeah. Someone claims his license plate actually says crime pays.
Seriously, crime pays. On his car.
That's the claim. If true, it's either the worst attempt at irony ever, or, well, incredibly brazen, like a bank robber wearing a T-shirt that says, I love robbing banks.
It's certainly a statement.
Then there are accusations he asked for more time than judges even suggest, maybe to wear people down.
Yeah.
Claims he actively hides discovery evidence.
Whoa, hiding evidence. That's a huge ethical breach if true. That undermines the entire process.
Absolutely. And this one's key. Allegedly working with the DA's office to convict men. Not defending, but actively helping the prosecution.
That flips the whole adversarial system on its head. The defense attorney working with the prosecutor.
Seems to be the allegation. And several reviews bring up the Jill Ihle case specifically. They point right at the conflict of interest she worked for him. Bassano didn't prosecute. They connect those dots publicly.
So it's not just us seeing the potential issue. His own clients or former clients are pointing it out.
Exactly. Then you get simpler ones. Shirlene Young just wrote, useless. One word. Says it all, I guess. Another reviewer warns you need a federal attorney in Hancock County because, they claim, civil rights aren't always respected locally. This person felt Toothaker lacked fiduciary duty, basically. The duty to act in his client's best interest.
Right, that core obligation.
Yeah, they claim Toothaker favored backdoor dealers, whatever that implies, and cost them a lot of money through negligence. Then there's talk of intellectual obtuseness, incompetence, not returning calls, keeping clients in the dark.
It's a pattern emerging, isn't it? A consistent set of complaints across different reviews. Lack of communication, lack of preparation, maybe prioritizing something other than the client.
Seems like it. One story alleges he tried to help a friend buy land cheap by taking advantage of an elderly person. Another says juries in Hancock County favor Toothaker because they know him personally. Country layering at its best, one called it.
Country layering. That suggests outcomes based on who you know, not the law.
Pretty much. And maybe the most extreme review calls the Hancock County Court a kangaroo-for-profit justice system.
Good grief.
Yeah, alleging systemic corruption. Brady violations, prosecutors hiding helpful evidence, editing evidence, using fake evidence, denying defendants the right to call witnesses.
These are incredibly serious claims about the entire system there, far beyond just one attorney. Even half of that is true.
It paints a really disturbing picture, doesn't it? And circling back to Jill Ihle, despite everything, she was never indicted by the Hancock County grand jury.
Never indicted after a fatal accident with alcohol confirmed in her system.
Nope. And when DA Bassano was asked why, she just cited, the confidentiality of grand jury proceedings.
Which is technically true, they are confidential, but in this context it feels less like protecting procedure and more like a shield.
Especially when you hear the allegation that the grand jury itself might have been composed of, and I quote, the wives and relatives of members of the good old boys club who might have a financial interest in convictions.
If the grand jury isn't impartial, then the whole process is compromised before it even really begins. No indictment makes a certain kind of sense if the system is set up to protect its own.
And finally, Arthur Smith Jr.'s obituary. We found the text. It talks about him being born in '81, dying April 28, 2007. Age 26. Loved fishing, hunting, photography, his kids, Just a normal guy.
A life cut short.
And this obituary, this simple record of his life and death, was apparently the one scrubbed from the Ellsworth American's website years later.
It's just profoundly disrespectful, isn't it? Beyond the legal questions, it's about basic human decency. Erasing someone's memory like that.
Mr. Smith Sr. couldn't believe it either, according to that call. It felt like the final insult, the ultimate act in the alleged cover-up.
So let's try and wrap this up. What we have is, well, it's deeply troubling.
It really is. You've got a fatal DUI accident. The driver works for a prominent local lawyer. There's a delayed investigation, inconsistent reports early on.
Then no charges for years, and ultimately no indictment from the grand jury, despite the circumstances.
Plus, you have the alleged removal of news articles and even the victim's obituary from the local paper's website.
And surrounding all this, numerous highly critical online reviews of the attorney involved, Jeff Toothaker, alleging everything from incompetence and conflicts of interest to actively working against his clients and hiding evidence.
Throw in claims of a good old boys club, a potentially biased justice system in Hancock County. It paints a picture that should concern anyone who believes in fairness and accountability.
Absolutely. The sheer number of converging allegations from different sources, the family, news reports, online reviews, it suggests that where there's this much smoke, you really have to wonder about the fire. It certainly raises questions about whether justice in Hancock County depends more on who you know than on the facts of the case.
Thanks for tuning in to the Despicable Maine Deep Dive. Remember, living in Maine is theft of your life.